As most of us have older siblings in real life, it's fairly easy to connect to the stoic older brother characters within a narrative as we respect and idolize them. Hailing from the Naruto series, Itachi Uchiha is one of the first that comes to mind of these types of characters, as his troubled relationship with his younger brother Sasuke is one of the most emotionally gripping narratives in anime manga, and makes him a memorable fan favorite within the Naruto community. Another one of these characters that comes to mind is Bleach's Byakuya Kuchiki, the young head of the noble Kuchiki clan, one of the Soul Society's highly regarded noble families. And although Byakuya is put into such a high position as a noble head as well as a member of the Gokei 13, he's still conflicted and torn between the Soul Society's laws that a Shinigami must follow until their death, and protecting his adopted younger sister Rukia. When I started to read Bleach and I got to the Soul Society arc, I couldn't help but immediately draw parallels between the two, and then from there I thought, who would win? This seems to be a pretty hard matchup to nail down when looking around on forums or asking people who are open-minded and know what they're talking about. For the purposes of this discussion, I will be using fake Karakura Town Byakuya, or Byakuya during the Iranka arc when he should be stronger after his fight with Bankai Ichigo, and I'll be using Itachi in his alive state before he gets revived by Kabuto's Ero Tensei. These are the most popular versions of the characters I'd say, since the Thousand Year Blood War is only just being animated this year, and the Iranka arc is Bleach's most popular, arguably. I'll be going over their physical stats like their strength and speed fairly briefly, and from there we can talk more so about their abilities and how an actual fight between the two would play out. Going over speed first, as this is the most dangerous territory in the video more than likely to start a heated debate, assistant captains or lieutenant level Shinigami are shown to be able to react to and dodge the Negation beam that the captain commander of the Gokei 13 refers to as light with ease. The Negation is used to rescue hollows that may be in danger to return them to Wako Mundo. Being as conservative as possible and fair, we'll say that dodging the Negation would make you relativistic. But even if it's only relativistic, a weaker Soul Society Ichigo is able to fight and beat two lieutenants or lieutenant level Shinigami, that being Ikkaku and Renji. From there, Renji goes on to fight Byakuya himself, and Byakuya makes a complete joke of his Bankai. Byakuya then fights an Ichigo who should be stronger than he was fighting Renji after learning Zangetsu's name, and Byakuya is able to overwhelm and nearly blitz him with his Bankai, as well as the two being seemingly relative while both in their Shikai states. Ichigo then goes into his Bankai and is able to completely overwhelm Byakuya, and Byakuya only starts reacting to or pressuring Ichigo once he gets fatigued, as Byakuya himself states that he did not increase his speed, and Ichigo also thinks that he got slower over the course of their fight. In the Iranka arc directly after, Ichigo uses his Bankai against Grimmjow, and not only is base Grimmjow able to react to him casually, but he also says Ichigo's Bankai is only average speed, and says that his own release mode or Resurrection is even more impressive than this. Byakuya then later on fights Zomari, who claims to be the fastest Espada or have the fastest Sonido, and is able to casually react to him as well as his eye ability, blocking it with his Kido and then blitzing an angry Zomari entirely as he kills him. Adeniro is another Espada who is weak to light, and is seen dodging light peering into the room he fights Rukia in once she breaks open a wall. Later, Rukia has to use a movement restricting Kido in order to let the light touch him. Byakuya then goes on to fight the strongest Espada, Yami, and is able to react to him in his anger amp state fairly casually, showing that he must have improved since his fight with Ichigo. Dodging the Negation should make anyone at least lieutenant level relativistic. Then Shikai Ichigo in the Soul Society arc is shown to react to and basically blitz three lieutenants, one of which being the right hand of the captain commander. He and Byakuya are shown to be relative in their Shikai states. This would make Byakuya in the Soul Society arc faster than light in his Shikai, and 5 through 10 times faster than light using the Bankai multiplier given to us by Yoruichi when telling Ichigo about the potential of Bankai. He then gets some unquantifiably faster in the Iranka arc. I'll be conservative again and say he should be at least 2 times faster than he was in the Soul Society arc. I could do some massive calc stacking using the release multipliers of the Espada he fights, as Urahara states that Espada's release states are comparable to the power of a Soul Reaper's Bankai, but again, I'm trying to be as conservative, fair, and realistic with the characters as possible. Byakuya in the Soul Society arc should be anywhere from 10 through 20 times faster than light and relativistic with moderate ease. Itachi's speed is much easier to pinpoint in comparison. Kakashi, when he's much younger and while fatigued, is able to cut a lightning bolt with his Chidori, and only gets faster as he gets older. Itachi is able to blitz this older Kakashi multiple times. Members of the Anbu are stated to have light speed attacks in the data books, and both Itachi and Kakashi served as members of the Anbu Black Ops and were highly regarded within their ranks at young ages. Several other Jonin and reasonably Jonin level characters also have light speed attacks that Kakashi should be able to blitz, as he is the strongest Jonin from the strongest village. The Raikage is also stated to move at relativistic to light speeds when using his lariat, and Itachi's partner Kisame is able to perceive this and imply that he'd be able to react to the Raikage if it were a regular one-on-one. EMS Sasuke as well as Edo Itachi are able to perceive and react to Sage Kabuto shooting a dragon that the data book as well as Itachi himself describes as light. And yes, I'm using a live Itachi, but he should scale to this EMS Sasuke in speed, as the data book only claims that EMS Sasuke surpassed Itachi in ninjutsu and technique. Kakashi also reacts with the water wall to Itachi's water bullets that are stated to move at light speed in the data book. Although not all of these are entirely concrete and can be debated on, these repeated statements from both characters and data books convey that relativistic to light speed to faster than light speeds are pretty consistent throughout Naruto and its narrative. And what makes Itachi even more impressive is that he scales above and performs these feats while he's holding back, as it is his character to do so. Kakashi directly states that although Itachi has already overwhelmed he, Asuma, and Kurenai, he is still capable of far more, and questions why Itachi hasn't killed him yet. Kakashi is able to react to a stated light speed attack as well as being able to blitz light speed attacks via the narrative and some scaling. He then says that Naruto has surpassed him, and if it weren't for him, he would have had to use his Mangekyo Sharingan against Kakuzu and ended up in the hospital as a result. Naruto then goes on to achieve Sage Mode, which should be at least a 10 times multiplier when scaling to the curse mark, and this Naruto still thinks he would lose to Sasuke, or the story sort of implies that Kage Summit Sasuke and Sage Naruto should be relative to each other, and this Sasuke still has yet to surpass his older brother Itachi, making Itachi anywhere from just faster than light to at least 10 times faster than light, again as I'm trying to be as realistic and conservative as humanly possible. Similarly to Bleach, there's a lot of calc stacking that can be done with Naruto transformations. For example, Kakashi states that Naruto using Kurama's chakra should be anywhere from 100 times multiplier, and you could just apply that to every form of KCM, but again, I'm trying to be realistic. Byakuya is realistically a bit faster than Itachi, but it's not like a tortoise versus the Flash difference or anything like that, and the two should still be able to perceive as well as react to each other, and neither party is just straight up blitzing the other. Moving on to AP, which shouldn't be nearly as convoluted since neither Itachi or Byakuya are incredibly power-based fighters, Aizen, when trying to fabricate turmoil in the Soul Society after he fakes his death, leaves a note to his lieutenant, and in this note he lies about another captain saying that they plan to destroy the Soul Society using the Sogyoku, the same Soul Society that has to house potentially billions of souls over time and that takes characters days to walk across. Shikan Ichigo is then able to hold the Sogyoku off or stop the Sogyoku before Ukitake and Shunsui seal it away. Neliel also says that walking from one side of Las Noches to the next could take 3 days. Aizen has a law put in place that no Espada, regardless of their rank, should go into their release states or use Gran Rey Zero within the canopy, as they may end up destroying all of Las Noches in the process. The size of the Soul Society as well as the size of Las Noches has been calculated to be small country level online, and Byakuya scaling to Shikan Ichigo in the Soul Society arc as well as released Espada like Zamari and Yani means he should be around small country to large country in his AP. Give or take. As a member of the Akatsuki, Itachi is required to be as strong as the Biju or tailed beast in order to fight and capture them for the Akatsuki's goals. The Biju are shown to be able to destroy villages, which are repeatedly referred to as countries and nations, but this contradicts the fact that they are also called villages and appear to be more so about large city in their size. Pain is also seen being able to destroy the entirety of Konoha with the Shinra Tensei, though this massively fatigues him afterwards. Deidara, however, when killing himself in Fallout Tactics with his C0 bombs, creates a massive blast that is comparable in size to a blast from the Ten Tails, and has been calced online to be small country. Deidara is also seen in the war as an Edo Tensei when he should be much weaker, flipping an island-sized turtle. and Itachi obviously scales to or above all of these feats, or his Susanoo should at least. If this sounds very unorganized or not all the way thought out, that's because scaling the attack potency of Itachi as well as other Akatsuki members is a lot more difficult than their speed, as you have to make a lot of assumptions while being generous and taking a lot of things hyper literally. You can scale them to the Sannin fairly easily, and Jiraiya is stated to be able to carve mountains with his giant Rasengan, but Itachi scales massively above this Jiraiya and is regularly seen one-shotting Orochimaru, even when essentially on his deathbed, and Orochimaru is relative to Jiraiya. With all that disorienting nonsense out of the way, I feel safest saying Itachi is more than likely a large island to a small country in his attack potency. Though his Zero Tensei version should realistically be stronger than this, as he's no longer ailed by his sickness and he no longer has a reason to hold back. With physical stats out of the way, I can talk about their abilities or specific things with the characters and how a fight with these two would actually play out. Firstly, Itachi can see Byakuya and no, Byakuya will not soul crush him. I don't want to hear this, and I still can't believe this is a thing in 2022. Hollows do not instantly soul crush human beings they walk by who have no sort of Reiatsu at all to even see them present. Ichigo, after using Mugetsu and getting rid of all of his Reiatsu and Soul Reaper abilities, is still able to see Aizen and doesn't get soul crushed by him. Neither does Aizen soul crush Ichigo's friends, Don Kanoji or Zenosuke. Byakuya is shown soul-crushing people, but only people who are significantly weaker than him, and Itachi, as I've laid out, should be relative to him or at least comparable, and Byakuya still tries to fight people who are weaker than him that he can soul-crush, like Shikai Ichigo before his Bankai training. Genjutsu will also work on Byakuya, even if he doesn't have chakra. Sharingan-based Genjutsu is shown to work on people who don't have chakra several times throughout the series. Sasuke is able to control Manda, a sage creature who only has nature energy, with his eyes. In Itachi's novels, a process is described for how the Mangekyo Sharingan puts people under Genjutsu, and it doesn't require them to have any chakra at all. Quote, "For the visual jutsu of a normal Sharingan, your gaze has to intersect with the gaze of your intended target to some degree. You need that direct action, and the flow of chakra, but the Mangekyo Sharingan allows me to sidestep all that a bit. I just have to look at my target's eyes and I can pour my chakra in, even if our eyes aren't intersecting, and the amount of chakra is several times more than with a normal Sharingan, so the target falls into the visual jutsu instantly. They have no idea anything's even happened." End quote. The Infinite Tsukuyomi is also shown to be able to put animals like cats under Genjutsu, and they shouldn't have chakra because they have existed long before Kaguya ate the chakra fruit. Genjutsu works on people without chakra, and it'll work on Byakuya. I don't want to hear it. Byakuya does have some hacks of his own with Kido like his Danku shield, Rikujo Koro, Utsutsemi, and on top of that far more, as he's described as a Kido master and should be able to use far more Kido spells than he is shown to on screen. Outside of his Genjutsu, Itachi also has precognition to make up for the speed difference with his Sharingan. He also has a Matarasu which will burn until its target is a pile of ash, as well as his Susanoo which can shield him with a Yata Mirror, a shield that is described to adapt its properties to whatever it needs to block, making the Susanoo more durable than Itachi is himself. Though the catch with these abilities is Itachi's sickness. It's implied and also stated that Itachi is practically blind during his second fight with Kakashi, as well as his fight with Sasuke due to prolonged use of his Mangekyo Sharingan. His sickness on top of his blindness can be very hard on his stamina and his body, and he may not be able to fight Byakuya for too long before he goes blind or becomes completely fatigued. But he may not need to fight for long at all. Though Byakuya does have abilities that may help him counter Itachi, like his Danku blocking a fireball or maybe Utsutsemi catching Itachi off guard, Itachi's abilities are far more dangerous and far exceed anything Byakuya is capable of at this point in the story in the hacks department. Discourse online would lead to the average spectator to believe that Bleach is an insanely hacked out and unstoppable verse, but this isn't really a thing until the Thousand Year Blood War arc, and with the exceptions of a handful of Espada and Aizen. Even with Kido that Byakuya may have that he isn't shown using like Kaien, Itachi would simply react to it either using his base speed or with his Sharingan's precognition and either dodge it or use the Yata Mirror, which will simply adapt to guard against it. Though it works similarly to Amaterasu in its description, Amaterasu is instant whereas Haien has a physical travel speed. Genjutsu is also a huge problem for Byakuya as he gets up close to his opponents and often looks them straight in the face or even their eyes, the catalyst for Sharingan Genjutsu. Even if he decides not to do this with Itachi, Itachi still has his ephemeral genjutsu that he can activate by merely pointing at someone. If Byakuya gets in Itachi's genjutsu, he loses and there is nothing he can do about it. Jiraiya states that disrupting your chakra flow is the only way to break a genjutsu, and more often than not, victims of a genjutsu are shown breaking out of it with the help of someone else. You could try to argue that his Zanpakuto is sentient and will snap him out of it, however this is quickly shut down by the fact his Zanpakuto does not have chakra and neither does Byakuya. Itachi's genjutsu has been shown to mentally torture his opponents to the point of completely collapsing and becoming too fatigued to fight, let alone stand. In another instance in the Itachi Midnight novel, he's shown using his genjutsu to put his lover under an illusion where he and her live out an entire healthy, happy life together with children, and she dies the instant it's released, after it's described to have lasted a nanosecond in the real world. Byakuya has no counters to Itachi's genjutsu, and if he's put under it, it will either kill him or make him an easy target for the Totsuka blade as he is frozen or collapses onto the ground. The only win con I can think of for Byakuya is if he uses Rikujo Koro in tandem with his Bankai to do something like maybe get around the Susanoo's defense and wrap around it. This could work since even things like sand are shown to be able to enter the Susanoo and interact with the user, but this only works if you take Byakuya out of character, as he's never really shown to go all out in the beginning of the fight unless he's goaded into doing such like Ichigo does, telling him to unleash his Bankai from the start while still in his Shikai. Itachi, however, is not the same way, and the only time Itachi doesn't decide to instantly end a fight is whenever he's holding back because of his narrative. For example, when he fights Orochimaru and Nagato, two people he had no reason to hold back on, he one-shots both of them, using the Totsuka blade as well as genjutsu. Byakuya is also shown susceptible to the type of mental torture a genjutsu entails, as shown in his fight with Asnod, and Fate Karakura Town Byakuya should be susceptible to this. Under better conditions, Byakuya with his slightly better stats would be able to exploit Itachi's notably weak stamina, but Itachi's abilities and the way he fights in character overwhelm him in the end. Edo Itachi against Byakuya in the Thousand Year Blood War may be a different story, but that's another topic for another day. Bleach vs Naruto is easily one of my favorite cross-verse topics to discuss and debate, but it can easily get contentious or unnecessarily toxic when discussing it with different groups of people who may not feel as strongly about certain concepts, statements, or feats as others, but those people are often not worth debating or discussing with in the first place, as outside of the competitive spirit, the only reason to discuss or debate is to exchange ideas and arguments to reach a conclusion that is most reasonable while being open with your opponent and not dismissing whatever they say instantly because you may not agree with it. Gracias por ver.
Byakuya はただ一人でいい。